necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us on Pushing the Limits. Appreciate everybody being a part of the show. One of the fastest growing shows, as I say, not just in the Valley, but across the country. And we appreciate you being a part of it. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. You could be watching and listening on KSHP, the FM AM dial, our YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. It could be the Occupy Democrats Facebook page, Washington Press, TikTok, Twitch. We're everywhere, and we appreciate, as I said, you being a part of our show. We do have a lot to get to today. Joe Biden doing an interview on CNN, making some statements about Israel, which maybe some people that are pro-Israel might not agree with, but we will certainly talk about that coming up a little bit later on in the program. Jeff Duncan, Republican, endorsing Joe Biden. We'll get to that, reaction to that, and we'll have some Vivek Ramaswamy audio that I want to play for you with Ann Coulter coming up here in just a few. But I will say this, The View, opening up their show today, playing a little bit of my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who appeared on the show yesterday. So we are going to talk a little bit about that coming up a little bit in a little bit here. But I will say this, I don't watch The View very often, mainly because I'm preparing the show and I don't have time to. I'm a fan of Whoopi Goldberg as far as her work in movies. I think she's very funny. Joy Behar, not the biggest fan of hers. I like Sarah Abraham. I think she's very, very good. And when Ann Navarro goes on their show, I think she's very good as well. But with that being said, I want to play you a little bit of audio. This was the start of The View, which is pretty awesome because they have a very large viewership. Whatever you think about The View, whatever you think about The View, they started their show today talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And yes, you're right. You guessed it. It has to do with worms in the brain. Yes, I talked to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about that yesterday on the show. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on the interview as I've had 24 hours to kind of digest it. But here is how The View started their show today talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
So, just when you thought that the Republican presidential nominee defending himself in court against allegations from a porn star was going to be the wildest thing you were going to hear this week about the race, independent candidate RFK Jr. drops this. Take a look.
It came out today in the New York Times about this worm that somehow got into your brain. It's a wild story. It's kind of scary, right?
In 2010, I was having brain fog and I was having trouble with word retrieval and short-term memory. They found a black spot in my brain. And the doctors immediately said that's a tumor. But it never grew. And then in the end, they said that this is almost certainly a parasite that got into your brain. Parasites are very common in India, where I had done a lot of environmental work. And it comes from eating undercooked pork.
So you've made a full recovery. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Really? But he insists he's still up for the gig and even tweeted, and I don't know why, that he could eat 5 more worms and still beat you-know-who and Biden in a debate.
Well, now we know the reason for his irrational behavior, but what is Trump's excuse? Does he also have a worm in his brain?
Yeah, so that's how The View opened up their show today, which I appreciate.
Really?
Yeah. Thank you, Whoopi. Talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. All right, so a couple things that I want to talk about. First of all, it's great when you get some free press on a show like The View. So like I said, I do appreciate that. They're mocking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Here's where I think they're wrong. You know, we always talk about, or at least I talk about, right-wing members of the media who say Joe Biden is in the bunker and he has Alzheimer's. And I say that that's wrong because, number one, you're not a doctor. You don't know Joe Biden's medical history. You're not a physician, and he's 81 years old. I'm going to give the same criticism to the left. As much as I disagree with some topics that I discussed with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday, he said he made a full recovery. This has no bearing on whether he should be running for president or not. We're not doctors. I'm not a doctor. He said he's made a full recovery. He talked about what it was, and this happened over 10 years ago. And I think when people start mocking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because he had a worm in his brain, and you're making the case, which I think some members of the View did, that he's unfit to run for president for health reasons, I think that's also equally as wrong. I think they're wrong for doing that. You know?
Really?
Yeah, Whoopi, I think you're wrong. And I think, we're not actors as far as doctors and nurses and those in the medical profession. We could certainly have our opinions, and that's fine. But this doesn't seem to be affecting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He seems like he's a man in good physical health and condition. I understand that he has a voice that he can't control. That's, some might call it annoying to no fault of his own. And I asked him, I said, what are your medical issues that you have now, if any? And he said, well, yeah, my voice. And he's doing some stuff to try to remedy that. But for anybody to go on the air and to say that because he had this issue with the worm in his brain, whatever it was, over 10 years ago, to make the case that, that's the reason why he's unfit to run for president, I think you're wrong. Just like I would say all the people on the far right are wrong for saying Joe Biden has Alzheimer's and look at him, he can't even put a sentence together. They're idiots and they're wrong. And I would equally say anybody who says Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is unfit for office because of this worm situation that happened 10 years ago, you're wrong as well. So here's what I took from that interview yesterday, and I needed 24 hours to kind of listen to it again and digest it. I don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a bad guy. I don't think he's this jerk who's out, he's not anywhere near, what I would call Donald Trump being the scumbag that he is. I don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a bad guy. I think he's a decent man. I disagree with him on the vaccine stuff. I disagree with him with his takes on the war in the Ukraine. I disagree with him on a number of issues, but I don't think he's a horrible human being. What I took away from that interview is he's an honest guy who feels the way he feels about a number of different issues. He's telling you how he feels. He's not answering to anybody. And this is who he is. You can agree or disagree with him, and I disagree with him on a number of issues. We talked about those issues yesterday on the show, but I don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a horrible human being or this bad guy. He seems to me to be a decent husband and a decent father. And I also understand that he has a large family, and a lot of members of his family are voting for Joe Biden and endorsing Joe Biden. That's a problem for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., but it doesn't necessarily mean he's this awful human being. I took away from that interview that he's a decent guy and he's a stand-up guy. I disagree with him on a number of issues. The reality of the situation is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not going to be president of the United States. And I know he doesn't want to hear that. And I know there's a lot of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fans out there that don't want to hear it. He has no chance to be the president of the United States unless there's some sort of health scare or some health issue that happens either between Donald Trump or Joe Biden. The two people that are going to be, one of the two are going to be the next president of the United States. It's either going to be Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's not going to be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's just the reality of the situation. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has made a mistake. He should have ran for governor. He should have ran for office, a lower form of office. He ran right into the presidency of the United States at a bad time, and he has no chance to win. So that's my opinions on that. I thought the interview went well. We had a respectful conversation back and forth. To an extent, it did go viral, where whether it be The View or a lot of pundits on social media on the left and the right have been retweeting my interview and have been putting excerpts of the interview on their social media platforms, which I think is great. It's an open forum here on PTL. I interview people I disagree with all the time. It's not always going to be a shouting match. If people treat me with respect, I'm going to treat them with respect. Larry Elder, when I had him on the show, Larry Elder was very disrespectful to me. He was very condescending. He made gross assumptions about me. So I pushed back on him, and it turned into a yelling match. That's going to happen from time to time. I have people on the show, people that are credible, people that are not credible, and when they disrespect me, I go right back at them. And sometimes it gets extremely heated. Well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was very calm. I was very calm. We had a very respectful interview, and at the end of the interview, he said he enjoyed it, and he said he'd want to come back on and when he has more time. maybe even in studio. So that I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that he's willing to debate people. He's willing to have disagreements with people. I said that with John Lee, who's a Republican, former mayor of North Las Vegas. He's trying to unseat Democrat Stephen Horsford, but he's come in studio a couple times, and he's not afraid to answer questions and have debates with people. That's more than I can say for some of his Republican opponents who are cowards, who refuse to come in studio. I appreciate anybody who's willing to have a debate. I appreciate anybody, as much as I might disagree with them, that's willing to come on this show and have a conversation and have a debate. And I appreciate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for doing that. I respect him for doing that. Don't agree with him, particularly on the vaccine and other issues, but I respect him for doing that. I appreciate him coming on the show and even giving me more time than was originally agreed upon. So I do appreciate that. I would tell the members of The View, if you want to mock him for having a health issue, you're just as bad as those that want to mock Joe Biden for having a stuttering problem. You're just as bad as those who attack Joe Biden for claiming that he has Alzheimer's. Don't be like them. You should be better than that. That's wrong, and you're wrong. So that's what I took from the interview. People have been asking me, Brian, what'd you think? What'd you think? Didn't change my views on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It didn't change my thoughts on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his presidency, but I do appreciate the fact that he was willing to come on and answer questions, and he seems like a decent guy. It's not personal. I don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is out to harm people. I think that some of the things he says about the vaccines harm people, but I don't think that's his intent. Those are two different things, if that makes sense. When people go out there, whether it be Alex Jones or conspiracy theorists like that, and they say that the Sandy Hook school shooting didn't happen, they know the shooting happened. They're intentionally harming people to get clicks. I don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing that. I don't think he's saying things intentionally to get clicks and intentionally trying to harm people, even though some of the stuff he says, I think you could make the argument could harm people. Yes, do I disagree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he says that Joe Biden, you can make the argument he's more of a threat to our democracy than Donald Trump? I think that's absurd, and I think that's ridiculous, and I pushed back on some of the things he said on that. But he's entitled to his opinions. I disagree with him on that, and we'll leave it at that. You know, it's interesting that a lot of these right-wingers and these far-right shows, they allow their guests to say hateful, racist things, and they don't push back. And I know, they don't have a lot of listeners in this town, but some of the right-wing hosts in Las Vegas, they'll let people get away with murder. They'll let people get away with horrible, racist, bigoted things in nature, and either they'll agree with them or they just won't give them any type of pushback at all. That's why I call them right-wing buffoons, and that's why they're not getting any national attention, the national attention that this show is getting. But Vivek Ramaswamy did come on this show. We did 15 minutes, and he was supposed to come on again, and they never got back to me. And I wanted to give him a lot of pushback on some of his absurd takes, whether it be January 6th was an inside job, his ass-kissing of Donald Trump. I can go on and on with Vivek Ramaswamy, and everybody wants to say, wow, Vivek, you're so articulate, you're so smart. Well, I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy is a dumb guy. I'm not going to call him a Rhodes Scholar either. Just because you sell drugs to the pharmaceuticals, many of those drugs that don't work, doesn't make you extremely intelligent. I would actually say it kind of makes you a scam artist. So I'm not going to sit here and say Vivek Ramaswamy is this really smart, articulate guy. Anybody that says, that January 6th was an inside job is an idiot. Yes, I think Vivek Ramaswamy is an idiot. So he had another idiot on the show, Ann Coulter, who I've always called a racist, and she just doubled down and proved it. So here's Vivek Ramaswamy interviewing Ann Coulter on his podcast. Listen to what she says and listen to him laugh and not push back on it.
And that's what I brought on today, somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement, and on this question of nationalism and national identity, somebody I've been fascinated by for a long time, and have interacted with on social media, but for the first time, we're having at least live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American Black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. And Vivek Ramaswamy laughs. Now, if somebody said to me, Brian, I don't listen to your show because of your religion, or Brian, I don't listen to the show because of the color of your skin, I would get heated, and but again, this is okay for the right. I guess it's okay for the right to have a despicable woman, and I think Ann Coulter's despicable. She's clearly a racist, to say that she wouldn't vote for somebody because of basically where they're from, the color of their skin, because Vivek Ramaswamy is Indian. No, I wouldn't vote for Vivek Ramaswamy because he's a conspiracy theorist moron who wears the MAGA Donald Trump knee pads, and he's an embarrassment. But it has nothing to do with his skin color or the fact that he's Indian. The fact that Ann Coulter said that is bad enough. The fact that Vivek Ramaswamy didn't challenge her on it and, in fact, laughed off that statement goes to show you what a moron he is. And, imagine if somebody on the left did that. Imagine if Tim Scott, for example, did a podcast. And let's just say Tim Scott was interviewing some of the popular media pundits on the left. Let's just say Brian Tyler Cohen, for example. And Tim Scott's interviewing Brian Tyler Cohen. And Brian Tyler Cohen says he wouldn't vote for Tim Scott because he's black. The right would have a field day with that, and rightfully so, right? It would be a horrible thing to say. So the fact that people aren't calling out Vivek for this, or at least very few people are, is so despicable. Ann Coulter's despicable. She's a racist. She's what you would call a Karen. And Vivek Ramaswamy is a coward. And the fact that he didn't challenge her on that, he won't challenge anybody on the far right. He'll go after Nikki Haley, right? But he won't go after Donald Trump. He'll kiss Donald Trump's ass. And in this case, Ann Coulter. It's despicable, it's disgusting, and it's pathetic. So here's what I want to do. I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to play you some of the interview that Joe Biden did with CNN. And Joe Biden's getting a little flack for this, but I'm going to take his side on this one. It has something to do with Israel and the fact that Biden says he's going to stop sending bombs and artillery shells to Israel. I'll tell you why, and he'll tell you why he's saying that coming up next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign Bot Fun account and stay progressive.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you that support what we do here at PTL, we also ask that you support the people that support us. I'm talking about Pioneer Air. It is getting hot out there. I was blasting the air conditioning last night before I went to sleep. You want to make sure your air conditioning system is working properly. Pioneer Air has been around since the 1930s. And if you're a fan of the show, you get a $150 free VIP membership. That's right. Scheduled maintenance for up to a year, a dedicated hotline, repair discounts, and extended warranty. Give them a call, 702-703-6346. Again, that number is 702-703-6346, and tell them I sent you. So Joe Biden did an interview on CNN, and some are giving him some flack because he said he would stop sending bombs and artillery shells to Israel if Israel launches a major invasion of Rafah. Now, I actually agree with Joe Biden on this one. I think strategically it's the right thing to do. We want the least amount of innocent casualties. But it's interesting because those on the far right that are claiming Joe Biden is anti-Semitic, which is absolutely absurd, by the way. Absolutely absurd. And Joe Biden sent more money to Israel than any other president in my lifetime. But again, those that are attacking Joe Biden and saying he's not pro-Israel, which again is completely absurd and ridiculous. Let's keep in mind that Donald Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly, confirmed that Trump said Adolf Hitler did some good things. Adolf Hitler did some good things, sounding a page from the Kanye West playbook. Trump said the march in Charlottesville with neo-Nazis and Klan members, good people on both sides. He shared an anti-Semitic meme in 2016 using a Star of David to suggest his opponent was controlled by Jews. Trump used the same language as Hitler to call his political opponents vermin and claim immigrants are poisoning the blood of the country. Trump dined at Mar-a-Lago, and this is one of my biggest criticisms. He dined at Mar-a-Lago with Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes. You couldn't have dinner with a more despicable human being who previously made horrible comments about Jews, saying that they should all be executed. Trump said Jewish Americans who don't support him should be ashamed. I'm not ashamed at all. I'll tell you that right now. Trump repeatedly endorsed a racist conspiracy theory pushed by neo-Nazis against Jews and immigrants. So for anybody here that's a MAGA supporter that suggests that Joe Biden is somehow anti-Israel or anti-Semitic, you're an idiot. Again, he sent more money to Israel than any other president in my lifetime. It's absolutely and positively ridiculous. But I'm going to play you a little bit of the interview that Joe Biden did with CNN yesterday, which they aired. And he talks a little bit about the fact that he's going to stop sending bombs and artillery shells to Israel for obvious reasons. But have a little listen to this.
We sit here and speak, and that, of course, is Israel is striking Rafah. I know that you have paused, Mr. President, shipments of 2,000-pound U.S. bombs to Israel due to concern that they could be used in any offensive on Rafah. Have those bombs, those powerful 2,000-pound bombs, been used to kill civilians in Gaza?
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
So just to understand what they're doing right now in Rafah, is that not going into Rafah as you define it yet?
They haven't gone into the population centers. What they did is right on the border, and it's causing problems with right now in terms of with Egypt, which I've worked very hard to make sure we have a relationship and help. But I've made it clear to Bibi and the War Cabinet, they're not going to get our support if, in fact, they go in these population centers. We're not walking away from Israel's security, we're walking away from Israel's ability to wage war in those areas.
So it's not over your red line yet?
Not yet, but we've held up the weapons. We've held up the one shipment. It's an old shipment that was been designed. We held that up.
And I want to.
So I agree with Joe Biden. Why does he say he's not going to be sending bombs and artillery shells if there's an invasion of Rafah? Because there would be so many innocent casualties, and there's a lot of people strategically working in our government that do not think that that is a good idea. Now, if you are on the side of conquer Hamas, this will help conquer Hamas, no matter how many innocent casualties there will be, I would respectfully disagree with you. I know some people have that, but that doesn't mean that Joe Biden is anti-Israel, and it doesn't mean that Joe Biden is anti-Semitic, and it doesn't mean that Joe Biden doesn't want this war to end. It doesn't, it's ridiculous. And people on the far right, again, are searching, and they're searching, and they're searching. Again, I repeat, Joe Biden has sent more money over there to Israel than any other modern-day president. It's absurd, that idea that he's anti-Semitic or anti-Israel.
I want to ask you one more thing, if I may. The images that people see out of Gaza are horrific. The UN's talking about, some of these mass graves and the summary executions that there's been evidence of, torture. The images of children, it breaks anyone's heart to look at it. And obviously, we've seen that frustration here in the U.S. on college campuses. And Mr. President, I had signs at college campuses. Some say Genocide Joe. And any of us that have gone to those campuses, sometimes we hear that chant. Do you hear the message of those young Americans?
Absolutely, I hear the message. Look, two things. First of all, there's a legitimate right to free speech and protest. There's a legitimate right to do that, and they have a right to do that. There's not a legitimate right to use hate speech. There's not a legitimate right to threaten Jewish students. There's not a legitimate right to block people access to class. That's against the law. It's against the law. And so, if you look at the data, these demonstrations are real. They're not nearly, look, and I made a speech on the Holocaust the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I pointed out that, it took 7 decades to get to the place where after the Holocaust occurred, and there's still anti-Semitism. Look what's happened. In 7 weeks, 70, what's happening? Everybody's sort of forgotten about what happened in Israel, those 1,200 young kids murdered. I saw pictures. Oh, I went over there shortly after. A mother and a daughter being roped together and then kerosene point and burned to death. Nothing's like that to happen in the Jewish community since the Holocaust. So when I went over immediately after that happened, I said to Bibi, don't make the same mistake we made in America. We want to get bin Laden and we'll help you get Sinwar. But we went into Afghanistan it made sense to go get bin Laden. It made no sense to try to unify Afghanistan. It made no sense, in my view, to engage in thinking that in Iraq they had a nuclear weapon. Don't make the same mistake. Focus on, and we'll help you focus on getting the bad guys. And we got to think through what is happening after Gaza, after this is over. Who's going to occupy Gaza? I've been working with the Arab states. I won't mention them because I don't want to get them in trouble. But 5 leaders in the Arab community were prepared to help rebuild Gaza, prepared to help transition to a 2-state solution.
The government.
There you go. There you go. I don't disagree with anything Joe Biden just said. Oh, but Donald Trump would have done this differently. Oh, but Hamas wouldn't have attacked Israel if Donald Trump was president. You all are such freaking idiots that make statements like that. You want to blame Joe Biden for your hangnail. He's not responsible for Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. He's not responsible for these Hamas terrorists that decided to butcher a bunch of innocent Israelis. It's got nothing to do with any policy that Joe Biden has put on the books. But you morons want to take tragedy, horrible tragedy, and blame Joe Biden for it. Did we blame Donald Trump for COVID? No, maybe for his response to it. But I never said, it's Donald Trump's fault that there's a global pandemic. Never once, and I never will. But you people out there that want to blame Joe Biden for what is taking place in Israel and what is taking place in the Middle East is absurd. Hamas has been around since the mid-'80s. They're a terrorist organization, and they need to be stopped, and the world needs to come together. I wish Palestinians would agree. I wish that the Palestinian people and the Jewish people would come together to try to get rid of Hamas. I wish that would happen. It's not going to happen. So, yes, you have these idiots across the world and some in this country that are anti-Semitic, that want the Jewish people to be extinct, for lack of a better term. Yes, I do believe a 2-state solution would be a great step forward. There would still be anti-Semitism, there'd still be suicide bombers, and there would still be a large group of people out there that would say that Israel should cease to exist. But certainly a 2-state solution would bring us to the right direction, for lack of a better term there. But to say that, Joe Biden is anti-Israel, you're an idiot. To say that Joe Biden is anti-Semitic, you're an idiot. To say that Joe Biden is doing this because, genocide Joe, anybody who makes a statement like that, by the way, can't be taken seriously. If you're one of those people that calls Joe Biden genocide Joe, then you're obviously a very stupid person and not worthy of even a conversation with someone that's educated. You're an idiot. I really don't know what else to say as far as that's concerned. So while all this is going on, there are some those in the Republican Party that do have a backbone. There are some in the Republican Party that actually are standing up for what's right. Now, I think Jeff Duncan might have ended his political career within the Republican Party, just like a Mitt Romney, just like a Liz Cheney, just like an Adam Kinzinger. These are people that are on the right side of history, and looking back on it, we will say that. But these days, if you don't support Donald Trump, if you don't endorse Donald Trump, your political career within the Republican Party is probably over. But I do have respect for Republican Jeff Duncan for not only calling out Donald Trump for being bad, not only for America, but bad for the Republican Party, but taking it a step further, not putting in a write-in to vote for president like some on the right have done, but actually endorsing Joe Biden. So I want you to listen to this clip. This is Jeff Duncan on CNN openly saying that he's endorsing Joe Biden. Have a listen to this.
I mean, you've called out Mitch McConnell. You've called out New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. You've called out Bill Barr for all supporting Trump. Now, they all say, look, it's because of the policy. Now, you have proposed that perhaps Republicans can vote down the rest of the ballot as Republicans to try to block Biden's legislative agenda, but then still vote for Biden as the top of that ticket. But wouldn't that mean that nothing would really get done in Washington for 4 years if that's the follow?
Does anybody think anything's going to get done if Donald Trump's the president? I mean, all he's going to do is go on this vendetta tour around the world. There's nothing that's going to be done. In fact, I would argue there would be more damage done. Look, the play for a conservative like me that cares about the future of this country is to build the necessary majorities in the Congress so that we can have a meaningful checks and balance system if Joe Biden's the president. And look, I've said this in the op-ed. I'm voting for a decent person that I disagree with on policies over a criminal defendant who has no moral compass. And that's not tough to argue, right? Those are proven facts.
Listen, Jeff Duncan's 150% correct. I wish there were more Republicans out like him that would be honest. And I love the fact that he doesn't just make the case for all the American people, but he also explains how it's bad for the Republican Party, how Donald Trump is bad for the party and he wouldn't accomplish anything. Jeff Duncan is 150% correct. Here's the sad part about this of where the Republican Party is at today. Now he is going to be pushed away from the party. He's going to be called a rhino. They're going to do to him what they did to Mitt Romney, what they did to Liz Cheney and others. So Joe Walsh, personal friend of mine who is a former presidential candidate and a former congressman out of Chicago. He does this show all the time. He is a former Donald Trump staunch supporter. Here's Joe Walsh making the case of what's going to happen to Jeff Duncan because of these statements.
What Jeff Duncan is doing right now is he's ending his career as a Republican. It takes courage because unlike Chris Christie and Bill Barr and all the rest who say Trump sucks, but I won't vote for Biden, I give him credit. But look, they're not moving on from Trump. I give Duncan credit, but he says this isn't, Trump's not a Republican. Bull crap. This is what the Republican Party is now. It's his party. It's not my party, and it's not Duncan's party.
Joe Walsh is, again, 150% correct. Love Joe. He's right. This is not the Republican Party that many thought it was before Donald Trump took office. I do see some people on social media that are making some statements that are blatantly incorrect about me. I do read them from time to time. Leah writes, Brian seems to conflate support for Palestinian civilians with anti-Semitism. No, I don't, and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Anti-Semitism are the people around college campuses that are physically harming Jewish students. They're not allowing them to go to their classes. They're chanting death to Israel, death to America, those that believe Israel should cease to exist. If you listen to this show, then you would know that statement that you made is absolutely false. I don't see anything wrong with people that are angry and upset and peacefully protesting because innocent Palestinians are dying. It's horrible and it's terrible, and I've never characterized those people as anti-Semitic. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know what anti-Semitism is because I've experienced it myself, and those people on college campuses that are intimidating, harassing, and in some cases physically assaulting Jewish students, that's anti-Semitism, and I don't correlate that to people out there that are pro-Palestine that have criticisms of the Israeli government as all being anti-Semites. I've never said that, and that is not true. And you are doing what so many people do on the extreme far left and calling somebody anti-Semitic. The people on the far right are calling Joe Biden anti-Semitic, which is absurd. Let me tell you what anti-Semitism is in regards to Donald Trump. In what Chief of Staff John Kelly confirmed, he said Adolf Hitler did some good things. That's anti-Semitic. I've had people in studio, people that are from Gaza. I had a young man who attends UNLV. I did a 1-hour interview with him, and we disagree. He thinks Israel should cease to exist. But I didn't even label him as anti-Semitic, even though I disagree with him. He lost 5 members of his family in Gaza. It's tragic. It's horrible. But this did not happen because of Benjamin Netanyahu. It happened because of Hamas, because they started this thing. And yes, anti-Semitism is rampant across this country and across the world. I don't label everybody anti-Semitic because they're pro-Palestine or because they're, in some cases, anti-Israel. I don't even label them anti-Semitic. So you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And you don't even know what anti-Semitism is. You want to defend people across college campuses across this country? You want to defend them for intimidating people that are Jewish, people that are Israeli? You want to defend that type of behavior? You go right ahead. Because if you defend that type of behavior, you're anti-Semitic. And I've had it. We need to call out what's wrong. Peaceful protests are wrong, even if you're anti-Semitic. If you want to hold peaceful protest, as an American, you have a right to do so. And as an American, I have the right to call you out as being anti-Semitic. Joe Biden is not anti-Semitic. Donald Trump is. I just gave you examples for that. Just because Joe Biden says he's going to stop sending bombs and artillery shells to Israel if they launch this attack on Rafah doesn't mean he's anti-Semitic, and it doesn't mean he's anti-Israel, and you people have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You want to say, I want to conflate anti-Semitism. I want to conflate anti-Semitism with people that are pro-Palestine or people that are against innocents dying. I've never said that, and I never would. And you're completely mischaracterizing my position on what anti-Semitism is, and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. We're going to take the phone calls now. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. Was I not clear with all of you? Am I not being clear with you? The woman who's on social media saying that I'm conflating and I don't know what anti-Semitism is, and I'm conflating those who don't want innocent Palestinians to die with anti-Semites. I've never said that. And you just have, I don't know if it's MAGA wax in your ears or Rashida Tlaib wax in your ears. I don't know what you are, but you're wrong. And you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Again, opening up the phone lines now, 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Here's the number right now. It's area code 702-221-7283. This is the part of the show that I'm going to be taking calls. So this is the part of the show that you want to call in. And could be an interview I did with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday that's gone viral. The View started their show today talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's right. Whoopi Goldberg, we played the audio for you. They started talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I thought it was a good one. We're talking a little bit about that. We're talking about Joe Biden taking flack, for particularly those on the far left and the far right, calling him anti-Semitic, calling him anti-Israel. Why? Because he says he's going to stop sending bombs and artillery shells if there's a major invasion of Rafah. Why do you think he's doing that? He's not doing that because he's anti-Israel. He's doing that because he doesn't want innocent people to die. How is it that some of you people out there don't understand that? It's absurd. It's ridiculous. All right. We're going to take some phone calls now. Again, that number, 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. By the way, those that are calling on the right Joe Biden anti-Israel or anti-Semitic are the same ones that support a liable rapist. Let's go to Mark. Mark is first up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Mark. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brian. Do you know, I was attacked because I made a post on the Occupy Democrat Facebook page. I stated Brian had mentioned that there was a show with Kennedy on his show. He was going to be on a show yesterday. And I just posted, I thought the show with Kennedy was going to be on today, meaning yesterday. And I was attacked by almost everybody saying, oh, stop listening to Fox News. What do you like Kennedy for? No, I don't like Kennedy personally. I was just questioning when the damn show was going to happen.
Well, that's a little bizarre.
I was just
yeah.
looking for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
anyway,
he came on the show yesterday. I hope you had an opportunity
but
to
all
listen
these
to it.
clowns that are associated, either right or left, start attacking me because right away they're thinking I'm pro-Kennedy,
Well,
which
that's
I
bizarre.
am not. All right?
That's bizarre.
No.
Here's. Let me just add this to what, and I'm sorry people did that to you, Mark. Let me add this. I've always said that people on the far left, or even one of my biggest criticisms of Hillary Clinton is that she didn't go on Fox News, right? I think Joe Biden needs to go on Fox News. He needs to go on Hannity's show. I think it will help him. It will help Democrats go on far right shows. And I've always been the type of person that wants a good debate. If I was running for office, I would do all the far right shows. I think it's important. It's one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. She didn't run a good campaign. People on the far left, listen, I understand Joe Biden wants to do his interview on CNN. Go on Fox News. Go on Newsmax. Heck, go on OAN. Go on with Tucker Carlson. It will not hurt him. It can only help him because you have a lot of these supporters of Tucker and Hannity that are way on the far right. They're probably not going to vote for Joe Biden anyway, but maybe you'll get a couple of them to go and reach across the aisle and vote for Biden. I think it's a mistake.
Well, here's my point. I believe that in getting the message out, the Democrats are extremely weak. they're weak in getting their pro message out of pro democracy. Also, you MAGA clowns out there, you were all screaming about Benghazi. Do you remember?
No,
And one of the reasons.
8 investigations. Yes, 8 investigations
wait a
led
minute,
by
wait a minute.
Republicans.
Right. Do you all you MAGAs remember you were screaming about Benghazi and all that? Well, I tell you what, go to YouTube and type in Chavez. He was a sitting congressman. Chavez admits Benghazi was started by Congress.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you how that's possible. Chavez was questioned by a CNN reporter stating, do you agree with the Benghazi incident? And what do you how do you explain this happened?
Yeah.
Well, to tell you the truth, Benghazi happened because we cannot fund every single security place across the world. We have thousands of embassies and securities details that need to be funded, and Benghazi was not on our list.
Yeah.
So, in that report, Chavez admitted that it was Congress that lapsed in security, but they ran a 2-year campaign trying to get the numbers down on Clinton so she couldn't win the presidency, and they're doing the exact same thing now with this Biden bullshit.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate your call. You're absolutely right. As I will call out both sides, though, as I try to do on this show, even though these days I really have almost nothing in common with Republicans. I certainly lean to the left on most issues today. I will tell you this, The View, and we're going to play that for you again at the top of the hour. The View opened up their show today talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday, and I have some criticism for them and those on the far left. I understand that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has had some health scares, and this worm story is a wild and crazy story. I asked him about it yesterday. He said he's doing fine. He seems to be doing fine, even though we might disagree with him on some issues. For people out there, like those on The View today, that were saying, oh, well, this is why he doesn't know what he's talking about. His mind isn't working right, and he's got health issues because of this worm story. You're wrong. Just like anybody's wrong that says Joe Biden has Alzheimer's or he can't put a sentence together. You're being just like them. You're not a doctor, Joy Behar. You're not a doctor, and you shouldn't be making statements assuming that over 10 years ago he had this health scare. He claims he made a full recovery. I see no evidence to prove the fact that he's lying. And for anybody out there, you can disagree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as I do on a number of different issues. But to say that he's unfit for office because of health reasons, you're not a doctor. You're not his personal physician, just like the right-wing buffoons out there that say that say Joe Biden has Alzheimer's and he's got memory problems and he's in the bunker. They're just as wrong and you're just as wrong. Let's disagree with Joe. Let's disagree. If you're a right winger, disagree with Joe Biden on the issues. Let's talk about it. If you're on the far left and you let's talk about your disagreements on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when it comes to vaccines or anything else. But don't start talking about his health like you're his personal physicians. Those on The View, and not all of them, but some of them on The View, when they were talking about my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday, they're wrong for doing that. I'm not voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for obvious reasons. I've been very obvious on why I'm not voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But as I said before, and I say again, they're wrong. And while all this is going on, by the way, before we get back to our phone calls, I do want to add this because Stormy Daniels just destroying Donald Trump on the stand today. So this is a funny interaction that I want to read for you before we get back to the calls at 702-221-7283. The lawyer for Donald Trump tried to embarrass Stormy Daniels, and it certainly seemed to have backfired on Donald Trump. Exactly, Stormy Daniels says, in response to the attorney who said, making me the best person to flush the orange turd down, Stormy Daniels said. Donald Trump's attorney questioned her on that. And Stormy Daniels said, I don't see the word instrumental or jail. They tried to say that jail was in Stormy Daniels' comments on social media, which it wasn't. And Trump's attorney then asked her if she was referring to Trump as the orange turd. By the way, I do that every day. I'm proud to. Daniel said that was the tweet doesn't specify and is up to interpretation. She also said, I'm not a toilet. Trump's attorney asked again what she meant by orange turd, and she said, oh, I absolutely meant Mr. Trump. I just think it's awesome. Donald Trump is being embarrassed on the stand as we speak. Stormy Daniels' testimony did not help Donald Trump. It hurt Donald Trump, and in my personal opinion, it helps the prosecution, and this is even before Michael Cohen even takes the stand. All right, let's get back to the calls. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Kava, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Kava?
Hi, Brian. How are we doing today, buddy?
Hey, good, man. What's on your mind?
So I want to respond to something you said a second ago about the protests and stuff. I completely agree with you. And like you said before, the police have the right to forcefully remove them if they keep doing what they are doing. Because I've seen a lot of people on X saying that the police have no right to do what they're doing, saying that, oh, well, they're harming us. They're bridging our First Amendment rights. No, they're not. You're not supposed to basically hijack a college or something's happening in another country. I understand that you're using your First Amendment, fine. But to hijack a school that doesn't belong to you is not okay.
Yeah.
It's not. And a lot of people on X are still trying to justify it. And I've said this before. You do not have the right to hijack a school because of something that's happening in another country. Yes, it's horrible. Kids and their families are being killed.
Yeah.
I don't condone that at all. As you know, Brian,
Right.
I don't play that game.
I understand, but what I'm frustrated with, I agree with you. What I'm frustrated with is those that are on the far left. I mean, I listen, I talk about those on the far right and Republicans every single day. I have so much criticism for the Republican Party today. But the far left that seem to say that Joe Biden, and some are saying it, that Joe Biden is somehow anti-Israel because he does this interview and he says he's going to stop sending bombs and artillery if Israel, invades Rafah, is so absurd and ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's not fact-based and it's ridiculous. He's doing that because he doesn't want more innocent people to die.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing. It doesn't mean he's anti-Israel. It means he's anti-innocent people dying. And somehow they equate that to being anti-Semitic. It's absurd.
It is. And what I want to say on this is, like you said, and I've even called out the Democratic Party as well. I've called it out too. I've said specifically what Joe Biden is doing, he's doing because he does not need any more blood on his hands than we already do.
Right.
We don't. We just don't.
Right.
And if you're going to criticize him because you don't like his policies, fine. That's your right. But to come after him and blame him saying, oh, well, he doesn't care about Israel. He wants to let Israel fall. Yeah. He never said that. There's no proof of that. Mm-hmm. And again, he's not doing it for that reason. He's doing it so no more kids, children.
Absolutely. I wish we got the message has to be sent to the country. That's why he's doing that, and it has to continue to be sent to the country. And there's always going to be the haters out there, right? There's always going to be the haters out there that are going to somehow call Joe Biden anti-Semitic or anti-Israel. Couldn't be further from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283. All right, let's go to MAGA Julie, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Julie. What's on your mind?
Okay, yes. Regarding Biden, that's a good initiative. I mean, I support that he is going to send the weapons to Israel to de-escalate the situation. That's good initiative. But on the other hand, I'm accusing and criticizing Joe Biden because he has allowed Iran to receive $71 billion.
That's not true. That's not true. He froze those assets.
According to the Foundation of Democracy here in the Defense of Democracy.
Julie, did you hear what I just said?
He released.
Julie, he froze the assets. Do you understand what that means?
Brian, we all know that Joe Biden released
Julie,
billions of dollars
do you
to Iran.
understand what I just said? You're not comprehending what I just said. He has frozen those assets, which means they don't have that money. Do you understand what that means?
Brian.
That's not true. He didn't freeze the assets.
That's not
okay,
true.
Julie.
The
I
BBC
can't. Julie, I
reporter.
can't. Julie,
The BBC reporter. Do you believe
Julie,
in BBC?
I don't know
and
what
Politico?
I don't know what you're talking about and what reporter. Julie, it is not an opinion.
Well,
it is
you
a
should
fact.
you should read it.
Okay, so Julie, don't tell me what I should read when you don't know what you're talking about.
You should read the news.
Okay,
because if
you're
you
right,
believe in
Julie.
The BBC
You're
and
right, Julie.
Politico in the CNN,
Okay, so Julie, is it your take that Joe Biden did not freeze the assets? Is that what you're saying?
He released the billions to, and he's continually releasing billions
Julie,
to.
is it your
to
opinion?
Iran.
Is it your opinion?
It's not my opinion.
Are you claiming?
It's not my
Julie,
opinion. I'm reporting news.
You're reporting news. Okay, so Julie, where does it say by any credible reporter that Joe Biden did not freeze assets?
71 billion released to Iran, and also he leased.
You're not answering my
the
question.
sanctions to Iran because you don't want to face the facts, Brian.
Okay, so
You want to
are
have
you saying? So Julie, let's go with the facts here.
fair conversation?
Let's go. Yeah, Julie, you can't have a fair conversation with somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. Julie, are you making? Julie, are you making the claim? Julie, I'm going to ask you.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Julie, I'm asking you a
That what you're
question.
telling?
Julie, I'm asking you a question now. And I'm not asking you about a BBC reporter or some random reporter. I'm asking you a very basic.
no, BBC
I'm
is a
asking
random
you,
reporter.
Julie, in order for me to ask you a question, that means you have to listen to it. Is it your opinion, Julie, that Joe Biden didn't freeze the assets that were sent to Iran? Is that what you are telling me?
It's not an opinion.
Okay, so he didn't freeze any of the assets. Is that the claim that you're making, Julie?
He released 71
Okay,
billion
Julie,
more.
thank you for the call, Julie. So here's what I would like you to do, Julie. Here's what I would like you to do, Julie. I would like you to do a Google search if that's possible, okay? I would like you to do a Google search. I don't know what I'm looking at right now, but Julie, I would like you to do a Google search, and I would like you to find out about the assets that Joe Biden froze, okay? Okay, I would like you to do that. And I would take a next call at 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on Pushing Limits. What's up, Dave?
Hi, Dave. Hi, Dave. Hi, Brian.
What's up, Dave?
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. What's on your mind? Thanks for calling in.
You have a lot of different topics going today. I was on one, and then you switched to Stormy there, and that got me thinking about a lot of stuff I don't even want to think about.
I understand.
In particular, what the inconceivable notion, to me at least, that we as a country have to be put through this with this idiot sitting in court and spouting off and disrupting the integrity of the court and the court process.
Right.
And then a porn star gets up there and just, pardon the pun, nails him. Nails him to the cross.
Right.
And, you know, it's enjoyable to imagine what's going on in his head right now. But I shouldn't say that because then somebody's going to say I'm far left and I'm one of these Trump haters. But where the Palestinian and Israeli conflict goes, you know, that goes back. It's hard to know, at least from my point of view, just exactly. And it must be hard for these young people to know, because during the Vietnam War, we understood who the enemy was. At least we thought we did in the beginning. The enemy was communism. But now you have a bunch of young kids on campus who are demonstrating against each other,
right,
for something that's going on in a foreign country that we're really only involved in with military aid to Israel. And it's hard. I would hate to be a young person and try and decide who the heck to take sides with. You know, because they're both committing atrocious acts.
I understand, but I think and you can tell me whether you disagree with me or not on this, Dave, but when I have these conversations with people, all sorts of different people, right? Reasonable people, smart people, and stupid people, right? There's all sorts of different people in the country. You seem to be a pretty smart, well-spoken guy. And, this is the way I explain it to them, and I want to know your opinion on this. I say, if Israel today decided to, if Benjamin Netanyahu and the government raised the white flag and said, we surrender, we're getting rid of all of our bombs and all of our artillery, we're done, Israel would be wiped off the face of the planet. Israel would be gone. If Hamas decided to do that today, give up all the hostages, raise the white flag, we surrender, the war would be over. But if Israel does that, everyone's going to be murdered and Israel's going to be wiped off the planet. Would you agree with me there? Because to me, that's the fundamental difference between both sides here.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to 1948 when Truman sided with creating the Israeli, recognizing the Israelis and Israel as a state.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. If more powerful nations were not involved in this, like Truman was in the beginning, in response to the Holocaust, and trying to right things as best as the other European nations did, and Truman, trying to right things and trying to give these poor people who had been without a country for centuries a fair shake in life. You're absolutely right. If we stepped out, Israel would be wiped cleanly off the face of the map.
And that's a very important, fundamental fact that so many of these people protesting at all these universities don't seem to understand, which is that fact. I mean, Israel's had to deal with this for how long now? I don't want to see innocent people die. You don't want to see innocent people die, whether they're Palestinian or Israelis. Joe Biden doesn't want to see innocent people die. It's why he said he's not going to be sending them bombs and artillery if they invade Rafah. Right. But with that being said, what is Israel supposed to do? I have these conversations with these very pro-Palestinian people, and I don't think all of them are anti-Semitic. I would never make that claim. But I ask them, I say to them, if you don't like the way Israel is responding and you think they're committing war crimes and genocide, let me ask you two things. Number one, why are there millions of Palestinian people and those of the Islam faith allowed to live freely in Israel if Benjamin Netanyahu wanted to commit genocide? That's number one. And number two, how was Israel supposed to respond when babies are being put in ovens, women are being raped in front of their children? How would you have responded there? And they don't know how to answer that.
Well, they don't know how to answer it because their knowledge is shallow and it doesn't go deep enough. That all they're doing is responding in the moment.
Yeah.
And they don't know, many of these students don't know the history behind all this. All they see is what's right in front of their face, and then they want to call people who disagree with Israeli policy in the response to Hamas. They want to call anybody who disagrees with their policy anti-Semitic. And it's just a sad state of affairs, because you're dealing with a group of young people who are, they're not really deeply knowledgeable about what it is they're protesting about.
Right. And you know what we need to do, Dave? We need to get rid of extremists on both sides. I call out the right.
Amen.
Okay, but Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib are despicable anti-Semitic turds. Okay, they are horrible people.
Absolutely.
They have no place in Congress. They have no place representing anybody. I would say the same about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Moscow Marjorie. It's funny, it took this long for Republicans to finally figure out what a moron Marjorie Taylor Greene is. Lauren Boebert, yes, there are more extremist and despicable people on the far right in office. I think we both could agree on that, whether it be Jim Jordan or James Comer or Matt Gaetz, DUI Matt Gaetz, let's look at his Venmo, or Lauren Boebert. Yes, there are more despicable people on the right, but Ilhan Omar, and I'll go as far as, I'm not going to put Ocasio-Cortez in there, even though I think her takes on the Israeli government are absurd. I would say Bush is in there. I would say Tlaib is in there. And I would say Omar. Those three are despicable human beings. They are pro-Hamas. And even though Omar puts on Twitter how much she's against the attacks of Hamas, then she says this is going back and forth for years. No, it hasn't. Find me a time where the Israeli government put babies in ovens, raped women while their children watched, while they were cutting off arms and beheading people. It hasn't happened with the Israeli government. It has absolutely happened with Hamas. And somehow Omar tries to correlate the two because she's an ignorant anti-Semitic fool, and so is her daughter.
Yeah, that goes pretty deep. There's something in the air in this country going on right now. I don't know what it is. It doesn't smell good.
Doesn't, but no, it doesn't. But from what I've heard, Donald Trump doesn't smell very good in the courtroom either.
That's what,
yeah,
so, and that's just the other layer of it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Well, I think it started with Trump.
Ignorance.
Yeah, you're right. It starts with ignorance, Dave, and I'm glad you're not one of those people. And I appreciate you calling. You call back anytime, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Threw some names at me. I'm going to research there because I'm not totally up on all of the congressmen. So I'm definitely going to go in and look at their.
You do that,
policies,
my friend.
okay?
You do that, and then call me back. Yes. So to give you the list of the names, and I'm gonna, I've gone after Omar and Tlaib, but Gymnasium Jordan, the guy has never passed a bill his entire career. I believe he enabled children to be raped. This is a guy who is pro-Trump, who is anti-democracy, who has defied a subpoena, who absolutely talked to Donald Trump multiple times on January 6th. He is a despicable human being, and he is part of the MAGA far-right cult. Matt Gaetz, who I believe, even though he was investigated, I do believe he had sex with an underage girl. I also know that he's been pulled over multiple times. We know who his father, former politician. How many times has he been drunk on the road and got a slap on the wrist and got out of it because of who his father is? Another despicable human being. Do I have to call out Marjorie Taylor Greene? We know who she is. We know who Lauren Boebert is. We know who Stefanik is. We know who these people are. Mace. We know who all these people are. And now add Kristi Noem to that list as well. Just a complete ignoramus. Tim Scott is an embarrassment to the country. He's an embarrassment to black people. He's an embarrassment to himself. The Vivek Ramaswamis of the world and those that are right-wing media pundits out there, the Mark Levins. You know, it's interesting because a member of my family yesterday said that one of her friends wanted to get the speech that Mark Levin made about anti-Semitism. I said, who the F cares? I understand Mark Levin is Jewish. I understand that he might be right on this Palestinian-Israel situation. Mark Levin is a despicable human being and bigoted in nature and has zero credibility. And I told my family member about this, who Mark Levin is. A guy who wears the Donald Trump knee pads, who will attack black people, brown people, left and right. You know, how many times has Mark Levin defended somebody who's an African-American unless it's Tim Scott? I don't want to hear somebody like Mark Levin talk about Israel. I don't want to hear somebody like Mark Levin talk about anti-Semitism. He's one of the biggest bigots in this country. I put him in the same category as Rush Limbaugh, who died of cancer, but was a cancer to this country. Another despicable turd. Sean Hannity's of the world, the Laura Ingrams of the world, the Tucker Carlsons of the world. These are despicable human beings who will lie on the air, who will say things that are not true knowingly so they can get clicks and appeal to their base, just like Donald Trump. We know that because we know how much Tucker Carlson despises Donald Trump because he said that in text messages. Sean Hannity knew that Donald Trump was full of crap. He said it in a text message when it came to the 2020 election, but they would never say it on the air on their show. Anything and everything that I've ever said on this show, I would also say off the air. I've never said anything on this show that I don't actually truly believe. You can't say that about these right-wing idiots out there, these right-wing pundits out there. You can't say that about them. They're completely two-faced. They all know who Donald Trump is. Yes, there are a few exceptions. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene does have a fetish for Donald Trump. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene probably has an IQ of about 20. There are a few of those that are so pro-Trump and they're so dumb and ignorant, middle America. But most of the Republicans that are in office today know who Donald Trump is. They know what he's about. Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, they know what a despicable human being Donald Trump is. They know he's probably a rapist and a sexual abuser. They know that about him. But they care more about money and they care more about ratings than speaking truth and differentiating between right versus wrong. And that's what makes it very sad. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on Push the Limits. Roy, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Hey, good, man. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Okay. I understand what Joe Biden's saying. It's horrible to see so many thousands and thousands of people killed when they're not necessarily involved. They are, what you call collateral damage. But, it's not a nice way to put it. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel a lot of these people who are protesting on campus, the colleges are not involved in this war, and I just think it's the wrong way to go about it.
Well, hold on, Roy. Roy, let
opinion.
me ask. Okay, so I hear what you're saying. I believe many of these college campus presidents and directors and whoever else are doing a very poor job. First of all, giving these people electricity and providing them things like that when they're in these tents on private property, a lot of them spreading hatred, they're an embarrassment. This is private property. You shouldn't be allowed to set up a tent, whether you're pro-Israel or anti-Israel, and do these things that so many of these people on these campuses are doing, assaulting people, not allowing people to walk freely. And these college campuses are providing them with electrical cords and food and drinks. And I just think it's despicable what some of these university presidents are doing, in my opinion.
They've allowed it to fester.
Correct.
And it really has nothing to do with the colleges, and they shouldn't be supporting it, in my opinion.
Correct.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like what's happening, but I think it's the wrong approach.
Listen, if people want to peacefully protest, as Joe Biden eloquently put in this interview on CNN, then they have a right to do so.
Go to Washington and protest.
Exactly.
The colleges are not making these decisions. They're not determining whether to send money or not. Go protest in front of your senator, your congressman, the president, and make the point that you want to make peacefully. But the colleges are not the ones who are making the decisions on whether to send money or not, or to send weapons or not.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the way Joe Biden has handled this. If people want to criticize Joe Biden, boy, I'd love to hear what it is. They want to call him an anti-Semite. They want to say this would have never happened under Donald Trump, which is absurd, by the way.
Yeah, nothing would ever happen under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The country would go to hell in a handcart under Donald Trump. It did during the pandemic.
I hear you, and I don't know if you saw some of the new polls that are out. I don't really pay much attention to polls, whether they're positive or negative. Some polls came out that said Joe Biden is now leading in Wisconsin. I don't pay much attention to that. Yeah, I don't.
See the other day, Microsoft is opening up a $3 billion operation there in Wisconsin. Trump promised something that never happened.
Right, that is also correct.
He promised infrastructure, which never happened, and his new health plan, which never happened.
We're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. We're going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. How did that work out? By the way, he campaigned on those two things in 2015 and 2016. So if people want to say I like his policies, would you call those good policies? Yeah. Would you say he's a great policymaker?
Right. How quick the morons forget. But I would like to make one other point, which is kind of not related to this.
Sure.
I keep hearing how all these guys like Tim Scott and this Carrie Lake and Elise Stefanik and all these other morons who refuse to say, well, if are you going to, agree with the results of the 2024 election? And of course, it depends. Right. It depends on whether you win or lose. Right. This is disgraceful. And really something needs to be done that if they can't agree on accepting the results of the election, they shouldn't be allowed to run. That's my feeling.
I agree.
This is absolute bullshit.
I agree. I agree with you 150%. And it is interesting when a Republican wins, everything must have been done fairly. But if a Democrat wins, the Democrats must have cheated. It must have been George Soros. All right. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Jackson's Bar and Grill. They have great promotions, including if you show a TAM card every Tuesday in May, you get immediately $50 in free play. How cool is that? I mean, I know some people like a friend of the show, Chris Wynn, who could play Caveman Keno all night for $50 and drink for free, right? Hopefully he tips the bartenders. I don't know. I've heard there are times where he doesn't do that. So, I got to help him out on tipping. I really do. But anyway, in all seriousness, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great gaming, great food, great atmosphere. Please check them out and tell them I sent you. So we have a special treat when we come back. I have a gentleman coming in studio from Nigeria. He's running for mayor of the great state of Las Vegas. He's more of an independent, but he is running as a Democrat because, like me, he leans to the left on social issues. His name is Kola Akingbad, and could he be our next mayor in the great city of Las Vegas. Well, we're going to talk to him about a lot of different things. He wants to legalize prostitution. He has some things that he'd like to do to help the homelessness issues, and that's a big national issue, not just a problem here in Las Vegas. I'm going to ask him about his thoughts on what's going on in Israel and much, much more. Kola is going to be joining us next. And we'll open up the phone lines again at 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. Be back right after this with Kola. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money, because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money with flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. A beautiful Thursday, actually, in Las Vegas, other than the fact that there's like so much construction work outside the studio. It's a little distracting, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Welcome back to the show. I interview a lot of different politicians nationally and locally, or those that want to be president. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Came on the show yesterday. But the guy joining us in studio right now is from Nigeria. He's running for mayor. He wants to be your next mayor of Las Vegas. He's running as a Democrat, even though, as I've talked to him, he considers himself maybe more of an independent thinker anyway. He certainly has some interesting thoughts and opinions on what he wants to do and what he wants to change. His name is Kola Akingbad, and Kola joins us in studio right now. Kola, it is a pleasure to see you, my friend. Dressed to impress, by the way. Looking good. Kola, how are you? Thanks for being here.
I'm pretty good. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me here today.
Of course. Yes. There's so much going on in the world. I don't even know where to begin, but let me start by getting some history on you. How long have you been in this country? Were you born in Nigeria, right?
I was born in Nigeria,
and
yes.
And at what age did you decide to come to the United States?
17, college.
You're 17. How long did it take you to become a citizen?
Well, I was qualified long before I became a citizen.
So you did everything the right way.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I was anticipating, being president of Nigeria. That's how my parents...
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I ran for president of Nigeria 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely.
That's pretty unique right there. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
And why did you decide to come here to this country at 17?
Schooling. Engineering is my background. I did a lot of, so I came straight to Miami, and then, transferred to Northeastern in Boston. So from there, I just, there's a lot of things that goes on in life, man. Our path, God just ordered there like He wants.
And you've done very well for yourself. You would say you're a success story. You came to this country and you get your degree, and you've been very successful. You're a family man, right? You're a husband and a father too, correct?
Yes, husband, happily married man.
Cool.
We have 6 kids. Accomplished.
6? Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, well, I have for my wife. My wife had.
Gotcha.
2. So the kids are very accomplished.
So why decide? I know you said you ran for president of Nigeria.
Yes.
This is very different. Why decide to put your name in the ring, so to speak, in the hat? And why do you want to be? And you're running as a Democrat, right?
That's correct.
Even though you consider yourself probably more of an independent, or
yeah. Well, this is a bipart. What they call it. When
you have to be a member of a party, really, if you want any chance.
I'm
to
a
win.
Democrat.
Right. I got you. Okay.
Yes,
Good. Gotcha.
Yes.
So why did you decide to run for mayor?
Well, I live in Los Angeles for 39 years.
Wow.
And I've been coming to Vegas like for a better part of 35 years. I love this place. I think it's the greatest city on earth.
As do I.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we actually, we have home here maybe for 8 years, and I'm a broker salesperson, been licensed in Nevada to actually, sell real estate for a long time,
Cool.
And so now, we just believe that it's time to come to Vegas.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Vegas, as much as the economy is brilliant, everyone comes to Vegas. No one want to go back home.
That's true.
The electricity and all that.
Yeah.
But I look at the economy, and that's pretty much. I was inspired by looking at our economy. It's so unpredictable. It's seasonal, and one-dimensional. During the busy season, when all the tourists are here, the economy is blooming, and Vegas is just popping. And then we have, these 2-3 months, that the tourists are not here. And when they're not here, all these workers, they're reduced to part-time work.
But I want to, I have so much admiration for somebody like you that at such a young age, that had to be very scary to come to another country. You get your degree, you do everything the right way, but we also, need to have compassion for those that maybe come here not legally, but they have good intentions. So I want to ask you about this.
Yes.
From the far right,
yes.
It seems like from the Donald Trumps of the world,
yes,
they want to paint those that are seeking asylum and those that are in this country illegally as all bad people that are going to rape your kids, and they're all just terrible people, right?
Yes.
And you and I both know, right, that that's not the case. Most of these people are good people. Yes, you did it the right way.
Yes.
But it's not easy.
No,
it's not
it's
easy.
not. It's
You had
not.
an opportunity to come here and get a college education. You're obviously an accomplished, extremely educated, smart man. Not everybody had the opportunities you had, right?
Not everyone, I was a privileged kid, Brian. My dad was extremely wealthy. So, and for me, it's almost automatic. Guys like me come in, we come in with money, So, but for other kids back then that have to come in and get a visa, it's challenging. And, I don't know what those guys are talking about. From my experience, people that come from other countries and they come over here, they don't come over here to start doing all bad things. They're looking for advancement in
Of course.
life. America gives you the opportunity. But a quick, I just want to make a correction here. I never did get my diploma because I became a salesperson,
Right.
in the process of all of that.
Gotcha.
And then became very successful selling.
But how do you think it would have panned out for you if you didn't come from a privileged family? How much more difficult would it have been for you to, number one, come to this country and be successful? I'm sure you probably would have still been successful
Yes.
because you're a smart guy. But for people that they have the brain, they want to work, but they don't have the funds, they don't have the money, what are they supposed to do? I think it's too difficult to become a legal citizen. I think it's too long of a process. That's what I think.
And I agree with you totally. I think they should look at the merits, right? Instead of just looking, Europeans can come over here,
right?
Because they have white collars, whatever, easy for them, to get a visa. And then you look at the Hispanic, they call them, all kinds of names,
Right.
But the Africans, the same way. The process is way too long. They should look at, I believe, you have to treat people as individuals.
Let's talk about that. What goes through your mind, Cola, when you hear somebody like a Donald Trump say, go back to where you came from, go back to your country.
Go back to your shit
Yeah,
country.
When you hear a guy who's president or a former president, whatever, make a statement like that, I'm just wondering.
Ignorance.
Yeah.
You look at it as ignorance, And so most foreigners, from my experience, they're proud people. You come over here and you say opportunity and you just dip yourself into it. And when you hear a guy like Trump, Trump, you are who you are because you have the opportunity. The opportunity, if Trump has not been born into the family that he was born into,
Right.
Trump wouldn't have been Trump,
I agree.
Come on, I give him credit when credit is due. He advances, his dad's empire, whatever, but he pretty much was born into the money.
He was given a $500 million company at a young age.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the fact that you understand that, you come from a privileged family and you had opportunities others don't have, but you want to help others that maybe haven't had the opportunities that you had. Okay, let's get into a controversial topic, even though I agree with you on this topic, which is legalizing prostitution.
Yes,
I heard it in your ad. So prostitution, for those of you that are unaware, because we do have a national audience, about 45 minutes from Las Vegas, you got a town called Pahrump. It became famous because if you remember, the former Laker,
yes,
Lamar Odom, almost died in one of these, places where prostitution is legal. Chicken Ranch, I don't know, whatever you call it, but it is legal. Prostitution is legal. But what people don't seem to understand, right, Cola, is that it's free of disease. These women have to be tested
weekly.
It's also safe for them. There's security there, and there's security things in place for these women. And they're doing it with their own free will, and they're getting taxed, and the government's making money off it. So explain to people that might disagree with you, because I would assume if you become mayor of Las Vegas, you would vote or you would attempt to make prostitution legal in Las Vegas, right?
I am going to move forward swiftly to legalize.
Talk about it.
Okay, so, first of all, Nevada is the only state, in the country, that actually legalize sex workers.
Right.
But let me talk about marijuana for a minute, right? With marijuana 30 years ago, 25 years ago, what did we know, 5 years ago when we legalized it that we didn't know 30 years ago?
Nothing except for the fact that the government wanted a piece of the pie.
The government wanted a piece of the money.
Right.
It's what it is. We are living too, we leave too much money on the table. So we want to address the issue of homelessness. We need new money, Brian. Whatever the budget is, I'm not in the office. I know there's a budget. It's never, ever going to be enough. We want to provide, like affordable health care, and have affordable housing. Okay, so the budget, you have to understand, all these programs affect mostly the minorities. They're the ones that need affordable housing, mostly affordable, healthcare. So what happens is there's never going to be enough money. We need new money.
Right.
So there are three options here, Brian. People are advocating just tax their casinos, tax them for the homeless, taxes. Well, the casino is going to fight it, and if we win and they have to pay homeless tax, they're going to take it out of the employees, right?
Understood,
And then the second option is just to tax the head out of you and I. We can just tax all the middle class and the low, and the working class people in Vegas. We can tax them massively,
right?
Because we must take, we have to get rid of this homeless. It's just crazy.
Can you imagine, Cola, tourists, people coming to Las Vegas, if in fact prostitution was legal, the money that the government would make off of this, the money, the taxes, the jobs that it would create. But let me play a little devil's advocate with you.
Yes.
And I think you'll probably agree with me on this, but there, just like marijuana dispensaries, there has to be certain zones where it's going to be legal and illegal. For example, you don't want a bunny ranch near a school.
Yes,
you don't want a bunny ranch. You don't want
zoning.
You don't want a bunny ranch near a library.
Yeah.
So you would have like zoning.
Okay, so, and they always come up with a sexy name for it anyway. Marijuana, they call it cannabis now, right? They don't have to call it prostitution, Brian, whatever they want to call it. But what I was saying earlier, though, so the other option is just to legalize prostitution and watch tax money flowing. It's going to be regulated very highly.
And here's something else we haven't even discussed, is that there are so many women on the streets. It's unsafe. You're spreading disease. I would imagine you're with people you don't know. They could be dangerous. There have been issues, situations where women sadly have been murdered. It's much safer as well. You get these women off the streets, get their Social Security card, get them to pay taxes in a safe environment. And I just feel like it's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
I really do.
Yeah, well, first of all, right, you were talking about the STDs. We bring that down drastically. All these sex crimes, we bring that down drastically. And it's just a lot of new money that can be made from that, from this.
And you remember a guy by the name of Dennis Hoff? He was the guy that ran some of these bunny ranches, and he did my show regularly.
Wow.
Great guy.
Yes.
Why do I say great guy? Well, first of all, I never heard any of his employees complain about him.
Yes.
He took care of these women. He paid them right. They were taken care of. They were safe. You never heard of any other than Lamar Odom doing it to himself and taking drugs and almost killing himself. It wasn't the woman's fault, but he was a good man and he took care of these women. And when you hear about these Johns on the streets and how they treat these women, it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Brian, okay, first of all, it's not just women, right?
Of course, correct.
We do have men also. So these people, they go
Gigolo,
out,
I think, is the correct word for that. Right? Yes.
They go on a good night, they bring in $3,000.
Right.
And these little guys that is running around collecting money, what they call them, pimp, whatever.
Right.
They... Can you imagine doing all that work and then you only end up with about 10% of what you made for the night?
Yeah.
And the way I look at it, this is our money. This is our money. We need new money.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I think most Democrats would probably be on your side on this issue. I feel like the party that is anti-pornography, that is anti-sex, is the evangelical right. The far right does not want prostitution to be legal. And if they had their way, there wouldn't be any sex magazines, there wouldn't be any strip clubs, there wouldn't be any of that stuff going on.
Well, hypocrites. Actually, I'm a minister, man. I pastor a church, actually. I'm a minister. It is what it is. Some of these ministers, they come to church in their $5,000 suits, right?
Right.
But, they have panties under this suit. Hypocrites.
That's funny.
And then they pick on LGBTQ. They are gays themselves. I don't care about
You're right.
that.
You being a pastor, better than anybody that a lot of at least in my opinion, the people that are the biggest anti-gay, right, anti-transgender, anti-gay, are usually people that are probably gay themselves. Yeah.
But they want to point finger, right?
Right.
They have to be able to point finger at someone. Okay, so for me, it's all about business, right? We have all these. We have so many agendas. We have comprehensive platform, and it's just never going to be enough funding.
Right.
So we need to bring in new money.
Yeah.
New money.
Listen, I'm
and
with
it's
you.
just a lot of money.
I think it's a win-win. I'm with
Yes.
you on it. I think people would make a lot of money, and and not only that, but we talked about the side, which is the person who's the sex worker.
Yeah.
But what about the other side? I'm sure there are people that we know in our lives that have paid illegally to have a man or a woman do whatever, and
Yes.
it's unsafe.
Yes.
It's scary. I am sure,
You
and
can get busted.
of course. But now you're in a situation where it's safe, it's legal, you have absolutely nothing to worry
Right,
about,
right.
And I think, and it's private too. It's
Yes.
private, and I think that's it's a win-win for everybody so long as it's done the right way. So let's talk about another issue. And if you're just joining us, his name is Kola Akingbad. He is running for mayor of Las Vegas as a Democrat. Ran for president of Nigeria too, which is pretty darn cool, by the way, from Nigeria. Let's talk about homelessness. You've talked about that a lot.
Yes.
It breaks my heart when I drive around, whether it be downtown here in LA, wherever. It breaks my heart when I see so many of these people that are suffering from depression, drug addiction, gambling addiction, mental illness, right? And some of them
Veterans.
don't. Exactly. That breaks my heart. Some of them don't want to be helped for whatever reasons, but we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
Yes.
We shouldn't have this. We should be helping these people. So Kola, if you become mayor, what do you want to do to not only help the homeless problem in Las Vegas, but issue some things that you think would be remedies to maybe help it across the country?
Okay, so first of all, whatever the program, the city have a program in place right now. We're gonna continue with that program. It's not enough. Say the way the city is addressing that right now, for them, it's almost like one solution fits it all. It's not a one solution fits it all, Brian. We have to look what you just let it out. Some people gambling, some people maybe they just lost their wife, they lost their families, and so there's somebody with a mental illness, whatever. So we cannot handle them all the same way. Some of these homeless people, all they need is to take a good shower, put on a white shirt, a black pant, and they are ready to go out there. So the ones that need to be retrained, we will retrain them. The ones that needs, medical attention, we will address that, and we have families out there. It's just a shame. So again, we want to do all these things, Brian. Where's the funding gonna come from? So I'm sure, I'm not in the office, that there's some funding right now, but it's hardly ever gonna be enough, right? And this goes back to legalizing prostitution. I believe that that's gonna help out a lot. And people, they look at homelessness. You cannot look at homelessness without affordable housing.
Right. The money's got to come from somewhere.
Well, some of these people, they end up
Yeah.
homeless because they can't afford where they live in.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And certainly the money has to come from somewhere. I want to talk to you a little bit about our current mayor, because you're running for mayor. And Carolyn Goodman has done this show before. I'm friends with her husband, Oscar. I love Oscar. I always have loved Oscar. He's a guy that tells it like it is, and he's very funny, and they're a very lovely couple.
Yes.
However, when Carolyn Goodman, if you recall, did the interview on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and this went national, so a lot of the people watching outside of the state of Nevada probably know the interview I'm talking about. It was about COVID.
Yes.
And it was embarrassing. and Carolyn Goodman was unprepared. She gave answers that were, let's just say in a nice way, did not make her look good, very good, and it did not represent us very well. I thought that was a very embarrassing day for Las Vegas, and I thought she did a poor job. Now, you could also make the argument, and I talked to Oscar about this, that, Anderson Cooper was a little snotty and she couldn't see him, and you could make all the excuses of the world. When you're a mayor, you have to be prepared, especially when you're doing a national interview. You have to be prepared. She wasn't prepared for that interview. What did you make of that? And do you have any other criticisms of our current mayor, who, by the way, I think is a very nice lady, and I've been friends with her husband for years, Carolyn Goodman?
Well, actually, I like Carolyn a lot, and I really, truly believe that she's done a good job for Las Vegas. She is attempting to diversify our economy. I think she's done a masterful job, actually. Now, I saw that, that interview on CNN. Well, I'm going to forgive her. I'm going to charge it to unpreparedness, right? You have to be prepared. Did she, did she represent Vegas appropriately? No, but she delivers in Las Vegas. So for that, I'm just gonna give her a pass. She have done some good things here. What Las Vegas needed the most is to have a diversified economy, and she's working on that path right now. But she's thumbed out.
Fair enough. An issue that's not only a national issue, but is certainly an issue here in Las Vegas is traffic and construction. It's getting worse across the country. LA is a joke. I mean, I don't even drive to California anymore because the traffic is so bad. But I got to tell you, I've been in Las Vegas for over 20 years. The construction the last several years is so bad. Everywhere you go, construction, traffic. I mean, normally it would take me 10 minutes to get to the other side of town, and now it's like 45 minutes to an hour. What can we do about this, and why is there so much damn construction all over the country, particularly here in Las Vegas?
Well, and I did a research on that actually in Las Vegas. And when you see a lot of this construction, the overpass over there by Tropicana, it seems no one is walking there. So why do you have all this construction everywhere? And it seems like the project is not moving forward.
Right.
So, what I read upon is that they're not giving these contractors incentives to complete early. So one of the first things that I'm going to do, we're going to develop some incentives for these guys. When we give you contracts, we need early completions, and what happens is they want some type of incentives to get that done that really have to be in place.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I agree with you. Again, if you're just joining us, he is Kola Akingbad. He's running for mayor of the great city of Las Vegas. He ran for president of Nigeria, and we have him in studio. KolaForMayor.com is his website. There's so many other topics to discuss. What are your thoughts on January 6th? Because I talked to a lot of people that are running for office about our democracy, right?
Yes.
The great thing about America, our democracy, right?
Yes.
What went through your mind when you saw what took place, the January 6th insurrection?
It was unbelievable. I never thought that can ever happen in America, but I'm a believer in the system. The system, pretty much, held up, and, that made me a better believer in our system of democracy. It's going to stand because Donald Trump and his clown friends, they actually attempting to pull a coup in almost in any other country, almost in any other country on earth. They will have been successful.
Yeah.
But American system, we just hold up, and that's just a shame. And
it's pathetic and it's embarrassing, isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
And I can't believe that anyone will vote for this guy again.
I'm with you 100%. It drives me nuts every day. What do you make of the fact now that the former president, who is now a liable sexual abuser, is now in a trial with the whole Stormy Daniels hush money case, and he's got 3 other indictments. He's facing almost 90 felony counts. I mean, what type of country are we living in where there are so many people still in this country that are, I would imagine 99% of them not Democrat, that still support this guy. I mean, you alluded to it. It's mesmerizing to me.
Well, I have to look at the electoral college because this guy didn't have the majority of the vote. He didn't have a mandate to begin with, and I just don't. What made America so great, the freedom and all of that, sometimes that's the same thing that hinders us. In almost in any other country on earth, it will have never been able to run again.
I agree. And I don't even understand this slogan, right? Make America great again. Well, when was America great? Listen, I love living in this country.
Yes.
But Brian, you hate the country. No, I don't. I love living here,
Yes,
right?
of
There's no other
course.
country I'd rather live in the world for the most part. But this Make America Great, was America great when we had slavery? Was America great when women weren't allowed to vote? When the Constitution was written, when they said black people were 3/5 of a human being?
Yeah.
When was America great?
Well, I believe that Make America Great Again. It's a
slogan.
Well, yeah, but it's a prejudice. It's slogan. It's just saying
Make America white again.
White again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Make
Yeah.
America white again.
That's what I think
that's
too.
What,
that's what you're
that is.
so right. I feel like there are a group
Yeah.
of far right, not every Republican, a group of far right Republicans that Make America Great Again to them means let's get back to the days when white people ruled the world.
Right.
That's what I think
Right.
they feel when they say that, right?
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame, right?
It's a shame. It's embarrassing. It's sad. Are you worried about November? Are you worried about the elections? Are you worried about the fact that Donald Trump could possibly win?
Man, that's a nightmare, man. That would be a nightmare, No, I'm not worried about it. I believe that Joe Biden will win. At the end of the day, well, let's face it, Brian, Joe Biden became president not because I voted for Joe Biden, not because I want to vote for Joe Biden, to be honest.
Anti-Donald Trump. Yeah.
Anti-Donald Trump.
As did I.
And that's going to hold up because the idea that this guy is going to come in and be president again, it's very frightening, okay?
I agree with you 100%. There are a lot of people like you and me, even though we might not be totally on board with Joe Biden, it's an anti-Donald Trump vote, and that's why I think Joe Biden will win in November. That's my personal opinion on that.
Yeah, that's my opinion
Yeah.
also. That's going to hold up because at the end of the day, you have to be, you have to look at your own family. You have to look at your own life. You have to look at your business and all of that. And then the possibility, this guy can stay for 4 years and don't want to leave. We might have to put this guy out. All the embarrassment, NATO. You have to look at NATO. You have to look at national policy. You have to look at all of that, and if you're a person of color, like a minority, you have to look at all the damage that this guy could have done, women's right to choose, all the damages that this guy, so he's never going to be a dictator because this system, I believe, will hold up again. Just, but it could have done a lot of damage on its way for more years. I don't know where we're going to be.
You mentioned abortion. I want to talk to you about that. What type of country are we living in where there are Supreme Court justices in Arizona and some crazy lunatics in Alabama that believe, and a part of the Republican Party that believes that if a woman is raped or she is the victim of incest, and I say woman, you could be a child, you could be 12 or 13-year-old girl, that she should be forced to have that.
Craziness.
Isn't that crazy?
That is craziness. Look, I don't believe that people should use abortion as a method of birth control. I'm totally against that.
Right.
But let's say, the doctor said this is going to happen. This is what we see. That's what we say. So do you really want to put that child, all the parents, all of that through all that process, the family, that can just, so there are instances when women should have the right to choose to make that decision. And after all, we already have it, like in the books, but all this far-right people, they just want to tear everything up.
They do. Speaking of tearing everything up, you've lived in Vegas for how long, right? You've been here for a while?
Yeah, well, I've lived here pretty much on and off for like about 8 years.
Okay.
But I moved there finally, called this place home,
Gotcha.
like about 3 years.
And there's a reason why I asked that. We had the biggest mass shooting in the history of this country right in our backyard, sadly.
Yes.
The October 1 shooting.
Yes.
Donald Trump was president at the time. And when it comes to gun control, it just seems like so many Republicans want to do nothing, or in some cases make it easier for for people to get guns. What do you make of the distinction between the two parties when it comes to guns? I mean, I don't understand it.
Well, I support the right to own, firearm, strictly to be able to protect, say, your family and your home. Other than that, some people use it for gaming, but automatic weapon, no civilian have any reason to own any rapid firing, automatic weapon, and that's the way I look at it. Not only that, there must be a process before you can buy one. You go in, you fill out your application. At minimum, I feel like a 30-day vetting process. There should be training, put these guys, maybe about 5 days mandatory training, unless those people that already have experience.
I agree, and Cola, and I've talked about
and
that.
The age needs to be somewhere, maybe about 21 years old, for God's sake.
So what you just said, I talk about all the time. There has to be some mandatory training. I think the age should go from maybe 18 to 21. But the part that's so dangerous to me, and there are so many Republicans out there that are in the back pocket of the NRA. All they care about is their A+ rating from the NRA, and I believe they put that over the safety of the American people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Most definitely. And you have to understand, it's not affecting their families, right? It's not affecting their families. We have never seen any one of these people have their families taken out by that, all these big Republicans.
Until it happens to you. Right?
Exactly.
I talk about this all the time, right? I'll give you an example. Dick Cheney.
Yes.
Liz Cheney. They were always seemed to be, based on policy, anti-gay, anti-gay marriage. And then they found out a member of their family was gay, and then all of a sudden they changed their mind. Why is it that it has to happen to them before they decide to do something? Like, I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Just being a hypocrite, right? And sometimes, look, I'm not one of those people who votes. I don't care who vote for me, who doesn't vote, man. Honestly, I will support the LGBTQ,
of course,
community, and we're gonna protect them.
Do you feel like Donald Trump and so many MAGA Republicans are against people like you because of where you're from and because of your skin color? Do you feel that?
Yeah, of course. They are prejudiced, but a lot of us are highly educated. And accomplished, and they must respect that, but I'm black, I'm black, I'm proud,
I'm white on white, as you can tell. No, well, it's sad that while I understand why you feel that way, it's really sad that you have to feel that way because of these despicable people. All right, now, before we go, I want to give you the opportunity, first of all, obviously give out your website and give out the information on how people can learn more about you and donate to your campaign. But then why? Tell the people here in Las Vegas why vote for Cola.
Okay, again, Brian, I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, man.
Yep.
Look, so I come in, and if you are in Las Vegas and you feel that you've been dealt the wrong card, you feel that your life is not just going the way you're expecting it to go, well, this is your season to prosper. I didn't come in and run for mayor because anything was broken and I want to fix it. No, I just believe that things needs to run better. And I don't believe that the rich should get richer and the poor just die in poverty. No, I believe that there's a middle ground where the rich can continue, they can maintain their wealth, and the middle class, and the working class people, they can actually begin to build legacy for themselves. So all our programs is just comprehensive. I'm a broker salesperson. I've been salesman all my life. I'll be able to broker a great deal for the working class people, for the middle class people. I'm not into this to make name for myself. It's not my style.
Right.
So, again, my name is Kola Akimbade. We are going to offset the off-season. No one that is running, they don't want to talk about rent control because you are going to offend the moguls. But I don't see how you can have affordable housing without rent control.
Of course.
I'm going to deliver rent control throughout all Las Vegas place. So, let's not make any mistakes about it. We need new money.
Yeah.
So for that reason, we're gonna legalize.
We need new money, and we need new leadership, and we need more educated people like you from different sorts of backgrounds to be leaders in this country. And that's why I absolutely think that you would be a great mayor. I know you would be a great mayor here in Las Vegas.
Thank
and we
you.
have the
Thank you,
elections right around the corner. But if people want to learn a little bit more about you, they can go to cola4mayor.com. That's cola4mayor.com, where they can contact you and they can learn more about you, Kola. And you definitely have a great story and a success story.
And our phone number,
yes,
it's 725-263-2660. Okay, so it's 725-263-2660.
Gotcha. And they can talk to you directly, and I love that. Well, Kola, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You're going to be on again soon. We'll have you on again before the end of the month. I love it, and appreciate you for being here. And you got to teach me how to dress, too. I need some help in that category. I definitely need some help there.
You're a radio guy, man. You are perfect.
Yeah, face for radio.
Look, I love your show, man.
Oh, well, thanks, Cole. That means a lot. And I love having people like you on, people from all sorts of different backgrounds, and it means a lot. All right, everybody. We got to go. That's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology